PopTech 2022. I'm so excited to be.
Are you excited? Here in the room? PopTech in the flesh. This is exciting. This is Letha. This is a big deal. Christy, congratulations to this. So it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. All right. So I'm here. I want to talk about the American dream, and actually I want to talk about young people's relationship to the American dream. And you might say they feel ghosted by the American dream. And let me see. These are my parents. This is my father and my mother, who immigrated from Haiti in the late 60s. They came really for a better life. And Haiti, as you may know, a deeply stricken country over a century, exploited and oppressed by Europeans, the legacy of slavery, later oppressed by Haitians themselves through vicious dictatorships. And my parents escaped, so to speak, not really escaped, they just came to the States for a better life, as part of an adventure, an opportunity. And this promise of opportunity was sort of very top of mind for both of them. And here I am, this is my company, Sylvain, we're a strategy and design consultancy, you can look us up. But me and my brothers, we are sort of a true reflection of that incredible sacrifice my parents and the ancestors before us had to endure. This idea of like a better life. Here we are, just steps away from the promise that's sort of meant to be protected here in DC. And it's kind of, I feel very privileged to have this opportunity. I feel a great deal of responsibility when it comes to where I sit. It makes me think of the American dream and what the American dream is. And as far as we know, we've researched where this term comes from, where the concept comes from. And as best we know, it comes from a book called The Epic of America. And this quote, it really kind of captures what the American dream is meant to be. That dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. That's where the concept of the American dream was sort of baked. And there are a couple of ideas there if you deconstruct it. The first one about being better and richer and fuller for everyone. That might be about equality and upward mobility. There's this other idea, the opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. That's about meritocracy. And really, if you break it down even more, the American dream might be the sum of these parts. The promise of equality, the promise of upward mobility, the promise of freedom, the promise of meritocracy. A lot loaded there. These very, very virtuous concepts that really sort of embody what this promise of America is. And it's the reason so many people come here. The idea of immigration is obviously in the bones of this country. Interesting. But the great immigration in the early 20th century, people really looking for a better life. Some of them even escaping, the horrors that existed around the world, and that sort of moment continues up into this day. And it's weird how today it's controversial in some circles, and it's really kind of pokes at what the American identity is. But really, over these decades, over this time, the concept of the American dream has changed, I would say. It went from like a virtuous concept of a possibility to it's become associated with enough economic success to lead a comfortable life. It's really about making money. And that's I want to talk about how that came to be and how the American dream has been served to us as sort of an economic promise. And it really goes back to the 50s and 60s post-World War II, where we had the promise of a great American life that involved, dare I say it, the suburbs, right? And it's a promise that was captured with consumerism and advertising, media and entertainment put all these images in front of Americans that you could live this life. You haven't lived the American dream unless you have a dope refrigerator. You have an amazing car. And I don't know about you, but where I grew up, Calvin in the 80s, the commercial, like Calvin Got a Job, the McDonald's commercial was profound. And that was about the American dream. That was about possibility. That continues today. That sort of promise continues today if you think about influencers and influencer culture and the images that are put before us by so-called people that have a claim. The American dream is alive and well, is an argument that you'll see in many, many circles. Many newspapers, many conservative pundits in particular want to believe that the American dream is thriving because of all these promises that have been propagated. Now, here's the thing. The belief in one's ability to exert control over the environment and to produce desired results is essential for individuals' well-being. The reason my parents came, the reason people believe in the fridge, the reason we kind of really, really strive for the American dream is because we need it. It's actually evolutionary. It's actually primal to feel like we have to have control over our status and over our station. That it's actually neurological. Like, we will be more successful in life if we believe we can actually access something that we don't have. So it's only logical that the American dream has taken hold the way it has. But let's be real. Let's be real here, PopTech 2022. Let's be real. The reason they call it the American dream is because you have to be asleep to believe it. You know, George Carlin, the prolific philosopher, put it so well. It's true. You know, and I don't need to tell you, you know, there's so many things. All the markers of the American dream are starting letting us down. You know, the average, the national median listing price for an active listing or for a home is well beyond what people can pay. U.S. health costs are threatening the American dream. You know, the people are overcome with debt related to healthcare. The price of a 4-year college is incredibly high. You know, what used to be accessible is kind of not anymore. Wages are rising, but can't keep up with the cost of living, not to mention worsening inflation as I speak to you right now. And how about the fundamental promise of freedom that this country was based on? Literally, freedom and equality. Literally, you know, the right to control one's body is being threatened by half the population. That's the life we live in today. That's the failed American dream today. But imagine if you were a 16-year-old. Joao is my son. Okay, so he's 16. Imagine what that generation, imagine what young people believe when they see these promises after generations of what the American dream can be. And you know what? They feel ghosted. They feel like the American dream and the America has let them down, has played them. It's like, what do you mean? None of this is real. The climate is burning. What am I supposed to believe in? And so, as opposed to previous generations, and the data shows it, 71% of American adults question the American dream. It's no longer this idea that sort of is unstoppable and withstanding. And then you think about this generation, you think what they're coming up in, you think even up until millennials what they're growing up in. Between economic crises and the pandemic and terrorism, they really don't have a chance relative to the American dream. It's kind of a fiction. 52% of Americans under 30 reported feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. You know, they really, of course they feel hopeless. They've been told they can have the fridge and the fancy car. They've been told all is possible, but yet they can't achieve it. They just can't achieve it. So of course they don't believe in the American dream. And of course they're depressed. And of course their mental health is an issue. And so they've adopted this sense of nihilism. And this is an interesting thing. When you're under duress in this way, you kind of respond to nihilism in sort of two different ways. One is you can respond literally by a sense of resignation. They're literally quitting their jobs more and more. People are quitting their jobs. They're bouncing. They're like, this is not for me. I'm not really going to work for someone else. But what's interesting is you're also seeing a real sense of action. That people are out, young people are out, and they're about to do some shit. They want to make some things. They want to change the world. You know this. This is the epicenter of that. You know, Ray Reid, the candidate, a reporter asked him what the generation's response is to Roe v. Wade, and he was like, I'm going to run. We're going to march. We're going to organize. We're going to vote. There's no longer this passivity that life is going to happen to this generation. They're out to change the world. They feel emboldened to change the world. And this reminds me of No Name, a rapper out of Chicago who grew up really in the shadow of her mom, who owned a bunch of Afrocentric bookstores. And she's sort of taken that same idea and brought it into 2022, where she's starting book clubs and giving free books to those that are incarcerated. And she describes as a little bit of a fuck you to Amazon and kind of a fuck you to the FBI. You know, that sort of action, that idea is new. That idea is new. And that's a new sort of example of collective sobriety. This generation is looking around and they're thinking the American dream isn't real. We're not going to be drunk on that. Let's sober up and really think about something else beyond the American dream, which is really an imperfect reality. Let's embrace the fact that this reality is in fact not perfect. And you know, Amanda Gorman said it so well just a few blocks from here. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose. This is a purposed population. They're out to change the world. My name is Alain. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Sylvain. I'm on the board of PopTech. I'm here with my son, really trying to capture what the next future of the American dream can be. So thanks for your time. Thanks.